Now, before we begin, let me show you the beginning of a game between two cube players and see if you can notice anything strange happening there. So, the game starts normally. White kicks and takes the corner. Black jumps. White decides to invade. And now white needs to run. Black cuts and Atari. Another one. Black continues to attack. White escapes. White jumps out. And now this. And black cuts. And just like this, at the beginning of the game, these white stones died. How is it possible and what could go wrong? The answer is very simple and very short. Shapes. It's all about shapes. The white shapes were getting worse and worse until it led to this abrupt ending. Good shape, bad shape, light shape, heavy shape, over-concentrated shape. Where do I even begin? You'll hear these words here and there, and you might be wondering, what is shape? And what are all those kinds of shapes that I just mentioned? I mean, we're not talking about architecture or engineering here. It's a board game with black and white stones, right? Right? Yes and no. We don't just drop and scatter the stones on the board at random. We construct territories and build walls here. So just like in architecture, it's important to use our building materials efficiently and elegantly to make all of our castles and towers pleasant to look at. And then again, before we look at any of these shapes, I just have to mention this. The shapes that I'm about to show you are not just good or bad by definition or by nature. It all depends on the surroundings, on the situation you're in. But we'll get back to this idea later in the course. So if I just tell you something like, these three stones form a very beautiful shape that could be used for board decoration, or maybe it would even look gorgeous in the corner of your living room. So wherever you can make it, just make it. It would be very superficial and even a little irresponsible on my part. So I'm going to show you exactly why some shapes deserve praise while others don't, what you can use all those shapes for, and what happens if they get under your opponent's evil attack. Now, we're going to start with 75 essential shapes that you might need at the very beginning of your Go journey. Once you've successfully memorized them all, we can move on to a much larger selection of intermediate shapes. What I'm trying to say is we're going to shape you up. Okay, relax. This is not happening. I'm going to show you only 6 basic shapes that are used at any stage of a Go game. We'll look at them one by one and see how they perform under pressure. Let's start this conversation with one of the most primal shapes in existence, a solid extension. This is when we have one stone, and we play another stone right next to it along the lines, for example here. And while we talk about these 6 building blocks, let's see how well they perform in making territory. In the end, this game is all about surrounding more territory, so we might as well choose the best shape to do just that. So, let's add another stone and make more points. One more. And one more. Don't you just feel tired now? This is really taking too long. If we insist on this steamroller style of making points, our opponent will always get more. Just imagine, if white plays a move here, another one here, maybe this, that, and this, the same 5 stones, but white doesn't have any points now, but we can be sure that this is going to be more than this. Black only has 10 or 12 points here. So extending like this, one move after another, is always going to be too slow. Not a good idea. So how about instead of making territory, we make some eye shape with a solid extension. Something like this. Black just played 5 stones once again, and there's not even one eye here. White can still play here, so it all looks like a pile of bricks. There's no eyes in there. We can certainly make eyes with just extensions, but this bulldozer approach will require a lot of stones, and the opponent could destroy this eye very easily. So when can we use a simple extension? It seems like it's not good for almost anything. However, when you want to connect your stones solidly, that's when this slow-mo shape is really hard to beat. White presses like this, and if we want to save the stone from this, white will just kill it. Black can extend, and the 2 black stones are now safe. White can't capture them anymore. An extension becomes indispensable when the opponent's stones are closing in. That means that if your opponent's stones are coming in contact with yours, then very often, if you want to help your stones, extending is going to be the best way to do that. Let me show you a simple example. Black has a star point corner, and white invades. This is very common in modern Go. Black plays here, blocking white, and now how would you continue as white? You see, a single white stone comes in contact with 2 black stones, so a simple extension is going to be best here. White plays here and escapes the pressure. And by the way, if black wants to continue this variation simply, black can also extend once again, this way building a wall. And if instead of this we try any other move, it's probably going to be inferior. Let's see, if white plays something like this, trying to escape out of the corner, well, black is going to just cut it, and the white stone is separated. If we do, for example, this, trying to escape, it's not going to work. Again, black presses, white tries to connect, but Atari, and this white stone cannot escape. It's captured. If it escapes, black presses again, and white has nowhere to go. You might be thinking about playing an extension in a different direction though. For example, how about playing like this? But this is a move on the second line, and as you remember from our beginner courses, playing on the second line in the opening is never good. Black will block, and the white stones will live here, but the territory will be very small and the white stones are very low. So, play an extension when you're under pressure, there are many opponent stones nearby, and you need to stay strong and connected. But stay away from the second and first lines. Next up is the one-space jump. This is when we have one stone, and we play another one 1 point away. The distance between the stones starts to grow. This is one of the most commonly used shapes in Go. So let's see what happens if we try to use it for making territory. So let's say we play a stone, and then we jump, 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 jump. We just played 7 black stones, and wow, see how many points we made. This is third line territory. It's actually not very big, and we spent a lot of moves to get there. So maybe let's try to build the same thing on the fourth line. So we play a stone in the corner, and then we jump, 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 jump. This is a lot of stones, and the territory is not even complete. The corners are still open. So maybe if we want to keep it safe, we might have to add another stone here, and maybe another stone over here. Now it's 9 stones. This kind of one-space jumps for development should be the second to last thing on your list, right above a simple extension. It still feels too slow, and your opponent is probably not going to let you complete that territory anyway, because once you start playing these moves, at any point white is going to play right in the middle and you can't complete the whole thing. Instead of all this, you might want to try using the one-space jump to enclose a corner. Let's say we have a simple 3-4 corner, and if we want to prevent our opponent's attack, we can play a one-space jump to keep the corner safe. And actually, to let you in on a little secret here, almost any basic shape is going to be good for this corner enclosure, whatever you do, it's going to be safe and fine. A one-space jump is perfect, however, when safety is a must. It's solid, yet reasonably fast. Let's say that we have something like this. White invaded the right side, and when black played here, white played somewhere else. Black continues the attack, and plays here, very reasonably. And now white needs to run away, escape out of here. And the best way of escape? One space jumps towards the center. So white just jumps and escapes. Only one extra move, and it's already impossible for black to chase or catch these white stones. Black could try to play something like this, but white just keeps running. Alternatively, a solid one-space jump can be used when we don't want to leave too many weaknesses behind in our shape. When the opponent's stones are a little bit close, and we don't want to jump too far away. For example, here's one of the oldest joseikis in Go. Black plays, white approaches the corner, black attaches, white blocks, black pulls back to save the stone, white connects, and where should black play next? Ideally, black would like to make a long extension now to make some more points. But these three white stones are so close, which means that if we play something like this or even like this, there might be some weaknesses left in this shape. And in the future, something could happen to it. So the best solution? The one-space jump. After this, the corner is safe and secure. Oh, and by the way, white completes the joseiki by jumping here. Yes, it's a very long extension, and an invasion here is possible, but that's going to be a different story. We'll talk about that some other time. Now let me show you one more example of a one-space jump used in a similar way. Let's say black has the corner, white approaches, and black ignores, and then white presses. Black responds to keep this territory. Remember, solid extension, because the stones are close. White extends too. And then black doesn't want to get pressed, so black keeps going. And we continue. And again. White is going to continue like this forever. As long as black keeps extending, white will keep extending too. Remember I told you earlier that extending to make territory like this is not efficient? Well, black is extending here to make some points, and white just has a wall. White doesn't have any points at all, so you just have to trust me on this before we get to this in some later courses, that this wall is worth so much more than the black territory. The sheer power that this wall has will allow white to get so many more points in the future, while this black territory will always remain the same, unchanged. So how do we fix this? After you extend once or twice, you have to make a jump to stay ahead of your opponent. So black jumps here. There is no cut at the marked point because the black stones are quite strong. So black is now ahead of white. And if white keeps pressing, black will extend once. And after this, the black will do this and start making more points away from the third line onto the fourth line. Once again, we're making this one-space jump for slightly faster development, but we want to keep it safe because the white stones are right here, next to us. Now let's make our jump just a little bit longer, and this brings us to the two-space jump, where we have a stone here and another one 2 spaces away. This is a well-balanced shape for taking side territory. If you make a longer jump, it leaves enough space for an invasion, as we just saw. And actually that's still okay if you know how to deal with that. After gaining a little more game experience, you can later learn that in our course, Fearless Invasions. Finally, this shape hits the sweet spot for extending along the side. Any closer is inefficient, as we've just seen. Any larger could be cut, split, and invaded. So this is going to be your basic shape for a safe development along the sides, on the third line or on the fourth line. But remember, what's safe along the edge of the board could be a lot more dangerous when you do it somewhere in the center, especially if there are some of your opponent's stones around. For example, there's a single black stone here, and it wants to escape, but you have to remember that if you jump like this, the distance between the black stones is so large that white could think about cutting this. I'm not going to show you all the possible variations of a cut, but if white just breaks the shape like this, for example, and then plays something like this, black and Atari, white would extend, but the black stones are disconnected. So the more of your opponent's stones are around you, the more careful you have to be with the two-space jump. So oftentimes you want to be a little bit stronger when you're making this shape into the center. For example, take a look at this. In the bottom left corner, we have the same joseki that I just showed you, except instead of playing here, black decided to play elsewhere. So now it's white's turn, and white chooses to attack the three stones. They can no longer extend along the side, so where can they go? They have to jump to the center. And because it's not a single stone, but three stones set together, black can make a two-space jump. Jumping any farther away could be a little more dangerous, but this is perfect. Black could think about playing here or here. In both cases, black successfully escapes from white's attack. And there you have it, the first three basic shapes. The extension, the one-space jump, and the two-space jump. By the way, you can also watch these lessons on our platform, gomagic.org. Except there, you'll watch them with interactive quizzes right within the lessons and practical exercises right after them. And if you enjoy watching these Go videos and you don't want to miss others like this one, go smash that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and this is Go Magic.